The movie begins with a distant dog barking and a church bell tolling. The location is a church in Tarascon, France. Rapid footsteps approach, and Jacques, an altar boy, arrives late for his duties, grumbling under his breath as the priest, named Father Noiret, instructs him to fetch the wine. While in the cellars, Jacques suspects that someone is down there acting from the shadows, and with ill intent. Frightened, he returns to the priest, who is consecrating the gifts of Mass, and informs him of his experiences. Just then, a low growl echoes through the church. Glass shatters, and both Jacques and the priest move cautiously to investigate the strange occurrences and unsettling sounds. A chilling encounter unfolds, leaving the priest gasping as he loses control of his own body. Father Noiret screams out as his bones crunch and are broken by an unseen force. Eventually, the priest passes away after being burned alive, and all the while, Jacques witnesses this frightening encounter. Elsewhere, Sister Irene is observing Sister Deborah, who is refusing confession, much to the Reverend Mother's dismay. Sister Irene approaches Sister Deborah, who shares her past, revealing that her father sent her to the convent because she was different, and she barely remembers her mother, though her father often compared Deborah to her. Sister Deborah then recounts her family's difficult history, including their home being burned down by others on the grounds of racism, and her brothers joining the military. She explains her presence at the convent, feeling it is her way to serve. She asks Sister Irene about her mother's mother, but Irene also doesn't remember much. Later, one elder sister tells a chilling tale of a remote abbey where nuns met unfortunate ends, some hanging from windows, others with their throats opened, and some engaging in desperate acts to end their own lives. Her story hints at a terrifying secret, a gateway to a sinister entity beneath the abbey. This entity is a demon that escaped years ago and took on the form of a nun to challenge their faith. The story continues with the Vatican sending demon hunters, a priest and a nun, who stopped the entity using a vial of Christ's blood. The priest became a bishop, but the nun's fate remains a mystery. Some accounts speak of her losing her mind and being confined. Meanwhile, at Tarascon, 4 years after Father Noiret's demise, schoolgirls are preparing for their evening activities in a boarding school run by one Madame Laurent. One schoolgirl named Celeste and another girl joke about the amount of wine available at the school, attributing it to the building's past as a monastery and winery. They soon grow naughty and decide to play pranks on their headmistress. They secretly, but intentionally, place cockroaches in Madame Laurent's quarters, leading to an abrupt interruption of Madame Laurent's prayers by a loud scream and noisy exclamations. The next morning, Maurice, the handyman, greets Kate, who is a teacher at the school. He also greets some of the schoolgirls. In the period of time he has spent in France, Maurice has managed to make some friends, particularly Kate and her daughter Sophie. Sophie, who equally likes Maurice, gives him a friendship bracelet, but another girl teases her about it, calling Maurice a mere servant. Maurice intervenes, teaching the girls about kindness. Madame Laurent then reprimands the girls and tells Maurice about the cockroach problem. Before Maurice leaves to check it out, he playfully teaches Sophie a knuckleball trick. At night, elsewhere in Italy, Sister Irene is troubled by a vision of Maurice, who appears to be pleading for help before transforming into a monstrous figure. She abruptly wakes from the nightmare, gasping for air, and as a result of this dream, she suffers a nosebleed. The abbess then informs Sister Irene of a visitor, Cardinal Conroy. He reveals a disturbing pattern of unsettling incidents across Europe, such as a nun taking in Hungary, a priest cutting his throat in Austria, and a novitiate from a window in Italy. These events echo a previous incident in France, where a priest was burned inside his church, he says. The cardinal is, of course, referring to Father Noiret's passing 4 years ago. Cardinal Conroy explains that the occurrences are moving west from Romania, suggesting the demon, Valak, is still active. He reveals that Father Burke, who assisted Sister Irene previously in circumstances similar to this, has passed on. The cardinal asks Sister Irene to investigate, but she declines, citing her previous harrowing experience. The cardinal then stresses the church's need for her, calling her past actions a miracle. Despite her hesitation, which is understandable, Sister Irene ultimately agrees to venture to France. Sister Deborah unexpectedly joins Sister Irene on her journey, explaining she wants to believe in miracles after her mother's passing. They discuss faith, with Sister Irene emphasizing that extraordinary parts of their faith become real through belief. Sister Irene then expresses concern for Sister Deborah's readiness for the dangers ahead. Back at the boarding school, the girls are rehearsing a play. Maurice shares a moment with Kate, helping her with a stuck cabinet, and they observe Sophie, whom Kate is proud of. Later, some older girls are leading Sophie to the off-limits chapel for a game called Defy the Devil. They explain that at a certain time, the sun makes a figure appear in the glass, and if you look away, the devil takes the form of a monstrous goat. Sophie is scared by the story and stays transfixed on the figure, not noticing when the other girls leave her behind. Time passes, and strange disturbances shock her back into acute awareness of her surroundings. Frightened, she makes her way to the exit. She successfully escapes the forbidden place with Maurice's help. Kate arrives, and although Sophie is shaken by her close brush with Valak, she denies that anything happened. Sister Irene and Sister Deborah arrive in Tarascon, where Sister Astrid greets them. Sister Astrid explains that the church is considered cursed after the recent incidents. They visit the spot where Father Noiret, the priest from the beginning of the movie, was found, and Sister Irene notes a statue of Saint Lucy. Sister Astrid mentions Jacques, a boy who witnessed the events, and a handyman from Romania known as Frenchie, who left town. Sister Irene realizes Frenchie is Maurice, their guide from St. Carta. She believes the demon is using Maurice to move around. At the boarding school, Kate finds Maurice as he is attempting to shoo away crows. She thanks him for helping Sophie and asks about the locked chapel. She then learns that Madame Laurent's son, Cedric, passed away there during bombings. Maurice expresses his concern for Sophie, even as he observes that Kate is always worried about her daughter. Later, Sophie spies on Maurice and Kate talking, and this leads to a warm and playful exchange. In Tarascon, Sister Irene and Sister Deborah finally have a lead on the case, but they are told they can't speak with Jacques, as his mother won't allow it. While trying to settle in a hotel, Sister Irene steps out for fresh air and encounters Jacques among a group of kids playing. They speak briefly, but he leaves with the group before she can get enough information. Sister Irene chases after the group, but quickly loses them as she falls into some sort of trance and passes out. At the boarding school, Madame Laurent's prayers are interrupted by noisy disturbances. She leaves her quarters to investigate and finds Maurice in a disoriented state, apparently regaining his senses after being physically touched by Madame Laurent. Maurice apologizes and takes his leave. Madame Laurent goes about in the chapel and experiences terrifying hallucinations of her late son Cedric. These visions are manipulated by an active Valak, and the demon preys on the unsuspecting and vulnerable Madame Laurent. It doesn't take long for Cedric to attack Madame Laurent and end her life. In Tarascon, Sister Irene recovers after passing out. She and Sister Deborah discuss their findings. Sister Irene believes the demon is after a precious relic and is using Maurice to obtain it, draining his life in the process. Sister Deborah reveals that Jacques gave her Father Noiret's rosary, which has a familiar symbol. Sister Irene recognizes it from photos of other victims, suggesting a connection. They decide to consult a friend in the Catholic archives. In the archives, the librarian identifies the symbol as the family crest of St. Lucy of Syracuse, whose descendants have been protecting a holy relic, the Eyes of St. Lucy. The librarian explains that the demon, once an angel, seeks to regain its lost holy power by possessing this relic. They learn that the eyes were buried in a monastery, which has now been converted to a boarding school. Madame Laurent's boarding school, the very same one where Kate and Sophie reside. Before they depart, Sister Irene is warned about the demon's ability to take any form and prey on fears. Sister Irene reveals she lied about not remembering her mother, who also had visions and was considered insane by her father. She states that her mother was eventually taken away and never seen again. Meanwhile, Maurice, Kate, and Sophie are enjoying a peaceful evening. While Maurice and Kate share a dance, he experiences unsettling visions and physical distress. Sister Irene and Sister Deborah arrive at the school, and Sister Irene recognizes the signs of Maurice being afflicted. She explains to Kate that the demon is inside Maurice because he saved her life years ago at St. Carta. Maurice's condition worsens, and he transforms, groaning and screaming. The demon, speaking through Maurice, greets Sister Irene. Sister Irene and Sister Deborah try to restrain Maurice. Sister Irene explains to Kate that Maurice is unwell, and they need her help. They enter the chapel, and Kate reveals that Madame Laurent keeps it locked because her son passed away there. Sophie points out a goat figure in the chapel, explaining that when the sun hits it, the eyes glow red, and children believe it's the devil. Sister Irene thinks it is a clue, and upon further investigation, discovers a hidden mechanism, revealing a secret compartment on the floor of the chapel. As they search, Celeste and another girl hear strange noises upstairs. A demon, now fully manifest, attacks the girls, causing chaos and screams. The demon then pursues Maurice, Sophie, and Kate. Sister Irene and Sister Deborah continue their search for the Eyes of St. Lucy. Maurice tries his utmost best to protect Sophie, but succumbs to Valak's influence. Maurice, now fully under the control of the demon, starts calling out to Sophie in a distorted voice. Sister Irene finds the Eyes of St. Lucy in the hidden compartment on the floor of the chapel, and arrives just in time to intervene for Kate and Sophie. As possessed Maurice attempts to attack them, Sister Irene and Sister Deborah confront the demon, attempting to perform a ritual with the Eyes of St. Lucy. The ritual seems to be working, but then, in a sharp turn of events, the demon gains control of the Eyes of St. Lucy, and seemingly consumes its essence. The demon roars, and Maurice struggles under its influence. Sophie desperately tries to help Maurice. The demon laughs as Maurice screams in agony. The chapel begins to collapse. They miraculously escape to the courtyard, but the demon pursues them. The girls scream as the demon attacks. Sister Irene and Sister Deborah fight back. The demon unleashes its fury, and Sister Irene is raised mid-air, and her clothes are set ablaze by the demon. But Sister Irene, remembering her mother's faith and the power of belief, escapes the demon's hold. She and Sister Deborah begin to pray, reciting the words of consecration. Visions of St. Lucy, her family, and the demon's origins flash before Sister Irene's eyes. As soon as they complete the prayer, the demon is overcome. Maurice is freed from the demon's control, weakly thanking Sister Irene for saving him. Sophie comforts him. The immediate danger passes, but the movie ends with a sense of unease as the phone rings, and a call for Mr. Warren from Father Gordon indicates another emergency. This suggests the struggle against the demonic entity is far from over.